Welcome to the Dr. Wyatt Show, where developing a long-lasting, happy relationship is the status symbol to achieve, and following my tools is one path to help get you there. I'm your host, Dr. Wyatt Fisher, a licensed psychologist specializing in couples counseling. Be sure to call me on the podcast Wednesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time with your marriage questions. You can reach me at 303-578-0618. And be sure to follow me on social at Dr. Wyatt Fisher. Today, I'm going to talk about how to fix relationship problems by not acting like a child. How much do you act like a child in your marriage versus acting like an adult? If we're honest, a lot of us have bad habits that have creeped in through the years, and we act more like children than we do adults. And then we wonder why our marriage is so hard. We wonder why we're not getting along with our partner. Maybe it's because you're acting like a child. Maybe it's time for you to grow up. Maybe it's time for you to become more responsible and act like an adult. So I'm going to go through 4 ways to stop acting like a child in your relationship so that you can fix your relationship problems. The first one is have good manners. How good are your manners in your marriage? Do you say please? Do you say thank you? Do you say excuse me? Do you say would you mind? Those are all examples of good manners. But often, the longer we're with our partner, the more complacent we become. There's the old joke I've heard a lot where your partner spills wine and you yell at them and you're like, "What's wrong with you?" But if you had a friend over and they spilt wine, you would say, "Oh, no problem. That'll come out of the carpet." That's an example of how we lose our manners with our partner, but we have really good manners with everybody else. Why is that? Partly it's because we do get complacent. We're with our partner day in and day out, and we just kind of get lazy. We start taking them for granted, and we just drop our guard, and we forget the importance and the value of having good manners. I've read a lot of Berenstain Bear books to my kids through the years, and I remember there's one book on how brother and sister lost their manners, and they started getting snarky with each other and rude, and they would kind of just be disrespectful toward each other. And Mama Bear, as always, she laid down the law. And she said, okay, from now on, if I see this behavior, it's going to result in this consequence. If I see that behavior, it's going to result in this work job. And that really helped brother and sister bear get motivated to have better manners. And they decided, we're going to overdo it. We're going to become so nice and extra polite that Mama Bear is going to forget about these rules altogether. So they went ahead and became extra polite, had extra good manners. But after a while, it just went to normal good manners, and then that became their new habit. So often it's a bad habit. What bad habits do you have in your marriage with your manners? Having good manners can go a long way, and that's what distinguishes you from acting like an adult versus acting like a child. Number 2 is be considerate. How considerate are you with your decisions in your relationship? There's a concept I've talked about before, which is becoming one eye in and one eye out. What that means is some of us are 2 eyes in. And if you're 2 eyes in, all you're thinking about is your needs, what's best for you, what you want, how you want it. That's thinking like a child, because what do children do? It's all about them. It's all about their interests and what they want and how they want it and when they want it. And then they get upset when they don't get what they want. That's acting like a child. And often, if we're honest, we act the same way in our marriage. It's all about what we want, our needs, our thoughts, our preferences, and we forget about our partner. So that's 2 eyes in, because you're only looking at yourself. You're only looking at your interests. Good partners become 1 eye in, 1 eye out. And what that means is you become mindful of not just what you want and your needs, but you're also thinking about, what does my partner want? What does my partner need? What would they prefer? What's their preference? And then you let that information influence your decisions moment by moment. So for example, let's say you're in the kitchen and you want to do the dishes your way because you're thinking about your interests, what would be easiest for you, what your preference is. But in that moment, you remember, my partner has expressed a different preference with how I do the dishes or how I fold the towels or how I do whatever. They've expressed their preference. So maybe I can consider some of what they want while I do what I want. And in that way, I'm being 1 eye in, 1 eye out. I'm being thoughtful. I'm being considerate. So think about that the next time you're making decisions around the house, with your partner, anything that's going to impact them on any level. try to become more mindful of not just what you want, what your preferences are, but also what would they prefer? How would they feel honored? What would they like in that situation? And they don't even have to be around. It's actually even more honorable if you're making those kind of choices when no one's watching. Because that's the true sign of being considerate, is you're being considerate even when your partner may not know that you're being considerate, because it becomes a new way of functioning. That is functioning like an adult, and that's going to help fix your relationship problems, because maybe you're too selfish. Maybe you're acting like a child. Maybe you're centering everything around what you want and what you think and what you would prefer and what your needs are. Well, guess what? You're married to someone who has the same unique set of needs and preferences just like you do. So every decision in your relationship, every behavior, try to become more cognizant of what do I want? What would my partner want? And let both of those factors influence what you do. Number 3 is learn to become a team player. Are you a team player around the house? Do you chip in with chores? Do you participate in childcare? Or do you have to be asked to help out? Do you have to be asked to put down the paper or to put down the phone or to put down that hobby and come participate and help out? If you have to be asked, then that shows you're probably not being a team player, a proactive team player. And this is how kids are. Think about kids for a moment. They don't want to do their chores. They don't want to chip in. They have to be asked to do their chores. And then they're usually grumpy about it. They usually complain. They usually argue. They usually fuss because they don't want to be doing these chores. They want to go off and do what they want to do. That might be how you're showing up in your relationship. Do you have to be asked to participate with chores? Do you have to be asked to participate with childcare? If you do, you're not being a team player. A team player is proactive. They're mindful of all the chores around the house and they proactively chip in. They don't have to be asked. They're mindful of all the needs of the kids and they don't have to be asked. They're proactive. They chip in. And maybe they don't know exactly what to do for chores or maybe exactly what to do with childcare. So then they ask their partner, hey, how can I help out with chores today? Or hey, how can I help out with childcare this weekend? They're continually mindful. They're continually proactive. They're continually trying to be a team player. So how much of a team player are you? Do you proactively get in the mix and participate and chip in? Or do you sit around doing your thing and you have to be asked? If you have to be asked, you're acting like a child. It's time to start acting like an adult. Number 4 is control your anger. Children don't control their anger. Children have temper tantrums. Children yell. Children scream. Children slam things. Children can throw things. Children get completely out of hand with their anger. Their frontal lobe is not fully developed. Frontal lobes, by the way, are not fully developed until you reach your mid-20s. And what that does is it gives you more and more impulse control. You're able to think through your decisions more and more as your frontal lobe, this part of your brain behind your forehead, that part of your brain is continuing to develop until your mid-20s. That's why a lot of kids, teenagers, young adults make stupid decisions because their frontal lobe is not fully developed. And that makes it difficult to make wise choices, to control your impulses. But when you're an adult, you learn how to think through things. You learn how to manage your emotions better. You learn how to control your anger. So when you get frustrated, do you act like a child or do you act like an adult? If you act like a child, you get upset and you yell, you get disrespectful, you might throw things. If you do any of that, you might slam a door. Guess what? You're acting like a child. It's time to grow up and learn how to manage your anger. When you get frustrated, watch out for your body going into fight, flight, or freeze. Watch out for your physiological symptoms. Your heart might start to increase. Your head might start getting lightheaded. You might have sweaty palms. Watch out for your physiological reactions because that means you're getting into fight, flight, or freeze. And when that happens, just say the word flooded. And that means you're going to go take a break for 20 minutes up to 24 hours to get yourself out of fight, flight, or freeze. And you do that by lowering your heart rate. So you're going to go for a walk in nature. You're going to listen to music. You're going to read a book. You're going to do whatever it takes to lower your heart rate. Because as you lower your heart rate, you're going to get out of fight, flight, or freeze. And you do that because you know I don't want to lose my temper. I don't want to start yelling. I don't want to get disrespectful and say hurtful things, because if I do, I'm acting like a child. And I want to fix our relationship problems. And the main way I'm going to fix those relationship problems is by learning to act like an adult when I get upset. How much do you act like an adult when you get upset? How much do you call flooded? How much do you regulate your emotions? How much do you self-soothe and stay calm and stay respectful even when you're upset, even when you're frustrated? If you do, then you're acting like an adult. So those are 4 ways to fix relationship problems by stop acting like a child. Number 1 is to have good manners. Number 2 is to be considerate. Number 3 is to be a team player. And number 4 is controlling your anger. Thank you for listening to the Dr. Wyatt Show podcast. If you enjoyed the episode today, be sure to share it with one other person to pay it forward to spread the hope of marriage. Also, remember, your partner is the expert on how you can improve. Ask them for feedback, make some changes, and breathe new life back into your marriage. Take care.